Welcome everyone to the Remodeling Digital Marketing Made Easy with the Surefire Marketing Cloud. My name is David Reed. I'm going to be hosting the webinar today, walking you guys through the cloud and showing you some of the technology, tools, and challenges that we see affecting the remodeling space. For those of you who are unfamiliar, I know probably a lot of you are, but for the few of you that may not be, Surefire is a full-service marketing company. We help contractors and remodeling businesses manage their online presence. So we've done so since 2011. We manage a little over 1,200 customers in this space. And one of the challenges that we talk about and that we understand in the remodeling space is that referral and word of mouth are really your best opportunities in terms of leads. And so our main focus is how do we create a marketing technology and services that our clients really love. And part of what we want to do here is help you to be able to manage your online presence, protect your brand, and help you to increase the quality of those referral and word of mouth leads. Now, a couple reminders here. We'll be sending you guys out a recording of this as well. If you have to jump off, we understand everybody's busy. If you do have questions, you are more than welcome to comment them in the chat box over there to the right. There are no such things as dumb questions. I didn't know what any of this stuff was before I got here, so more than happy to explain and jump into a little bit more detail. If something does come up after the fact, you are more than welcome to email marketing@surefirelocal.com. We'll get back to you. One of the cool things is at the end of this webinar, we're going to be giving away a Google Home Hub to one of the attendees, so make sure you stay till the end to be eligible for that. As I mentioned, my name's David Reed. I am the Director of Sales here, and yes, I do dress like that every single day. It's not just for picture day like in school. One of the things that we see in talking with contractors is that there's this big shift going on right now where a few years ago, businesses are just worried about, hey, I want to make sure that I've got a website and I've got an online presence and I'm doing all the right things. And what we're seeing is that there's a pretty big shift in that, 2018 and kind of planning for the future. Lots of businesses are focusing on this full marketing cloud, which is probably why there's a lot of you on this webinar today, and you guys are the smart business owners that are thinking towards the future. And what our tools really allow you to do, and what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today, is how you can actually manage your entire online presence and actually understand what's going on and where you're getting results and how you want to make adjustments to maximize your marketing efforts. Really at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. How can we make a couple quick changes, updates, going to affect the bottom line, help us bring in more leads, help us generate more revenue. And there's a couple stumbling blocks that we see that prevent people from doing this, right? This concept of too many cooks in the kitchen, where a lot of businesses, they'll have, a friend of a friend that builds them a website, right? This lady here is dumping the fish in here. And then they might have a girl or a guy in the office that's doing some social media for them, right? Younger kid. And then they're going to have like a local newspaper, Dex Media, Haibu, one of those type of guys. Going to sell them on some paid ads. And then you've got this guy over here pouring, I don't know, who knows what that is, and he's managing your quote unquote SEO, and you have no idea what's going on there. And then you've got this guy over here on the end with the crazy eyebrows, and he's like sprinkling in a couple reviews, right? So you got a review guy, you have an SEO guy, you got a paid marketing guy, you have a girl in the office is doing some social media, you got a friend of a friend that's building you a website. Everybody's a specialist, right? It sounds good. They all know what they're doing. They're all experts in their field. But the problem is if everyone has a different recipe and everyone's got their own secret sauce, it's going to be really hard for that meal to come out properly, right? And so part of what our tools allow you to do is be able to look at, and from one place really understand, hey, is everybody following this recipe, right? Are we actually moving in the right direction, or are we all over the place? And another kind of difficulty or another portion of this is just the marketing landscape right now. from what we see, this is a little bit old, this is from May of 2017, but from what we see, there's not 5,000, but there's about 6,800 different digital marketing resources that you could use. You could build your website on WordPress, or you could use Wix, or you could use Squarespace, or you could advertise on Houzz, or you could be on Yelp. There's all these different resources, and which one of them should you prioritize, right? Which one of them is going to generate the best return on investment for you? And we totally understand this problem. Our CEO, actually, his dad owns an HVAC business in Long Island. He comes from the contractor space. And so what we did with our technology is we actually partnered up with the best tools that are out there. And I'm going to show you what those are a little bit later on here, right? And as we're kind of moving through this process, one of the things that we're noticing is that the customer journey is changing, right? It's no longer about just being in the website, right? And it's advanced even a little bit more into, I don't want to just have my website. I need to be active in all these different places, right? And one of the ways that I kind of describe this to businesses is, if you think of Google as think of them as the library, right? Your public library. And what we're trying to do is get as many books on the shelf, so when someone comes to that shelf, we've got a better opportunity that they're going to actually pick your book, right? And so by having a Facebook page, by having a Bing profile, by having an Instagram account, Google My Business, Yelp, all those are just different books that we're adding to the shelf, making it a little bit easier for someone to find us. And that's really what we want to focus on, is expanding that online presence to make sure that we're getting out in front of those people. And as I've just mentioned, right now there's so many different resources, it's tough to figure out which ones you want to prioritize. And it's even harder to figure out which one of those actually generates a return on investment for you. And so that's part of what our tools and our technology actually allow us to do. And so, where we want to focus on for our clients is not, just not where the puck is right now, but where it's going, right? And there's been big shifts in technology over the last few years where, okay, originally, hey, I just need to have a website, right? That's all it is. I need to have a website and I'm going to be successful, right? Just like when we had the yellow pages. All I need is the yellow pages and I'm going to be okay. Now we're seeing this shift where with AI, with voice search, there's a lot of changes to that landscape, and making sure that your content and your information and your business is relevant there is a real priority, and part of what we try and do to help make it easier for you to understand where you should be relevant. Now, I always like to bring up new stats and new information for businesses to let you guys know kind of what we're seeing and what's going on. And really interesting, I was actually just at, there's a remodeling futures event. It's held in Harvard, and I was up there with a couple of our team members and some of the larger contractors throughout the country, remodeling contractors throughout the country. And there were some interesting, statistics that they had, and one of them had to do with just the state of the economy, right? We are in month 112 of an increase, right? And the longest in recorded history is 120 months, right? And so there's a lot of people that are concerned in terms of where the economy is going and what's going to happen. And from all the analysis and research and things that these companies and individuals were putting together, good news is 19 we don't think is going to be the problem. There's not as much confidence in 2020. And so we think 19, there's going to be a stagnation in terms of the growth. And so it's really, really important that we put in place some of these processes so that whenever this adjustment does happen, we make sure that we're able to capitalize it, and we're going to insulate ourselves essentially from it. So some ways to insulate are with voice search, right? We're seeing that by 2020, 50% of all search is going to happen through voice, right? So that's your, hey Siri, tell me where the nearest restaurant is, or Alexa or whatever of these different platforms. That's part of the reason why we're giving away one of these Google Home Hubs, because that's the direction that we're seeing it's moving. There's been, just for some context, there's been a 3,400% increase in voice search over the last few years, right? So it is absolutely picking up steam, and it's just a matter of, is your business prepared and in a position to be able to take advantage of that, right? So that's one that definitely needs to be a priority and something that you guys are focused on. Another area here is this section here. So for some of you, I know that we have different types of remodelers, interior and exterior, on the webinar today. For those of you that are exterior, you are probably familiar with Andersen Windows. They have an exclusive division called Renewal by Andersen. Very, very high-end window product. Typically sell for, between $2,000 and $2,500 per window, right? So if you got a 20-window house, it's going to be an expensive project. And so part of what we've seen that's very successful for contractors like that is targeting more longer tail search phrases, right? So most contractors, most marketing, companies, they're going to say, hey, you know what, we want to go after roofing in Dallas, or kitchen remodeling in Atlanta, or whatever the location is in the services. And they go after that because that is what's called high volume term. There's typically lots of people that are searching for that. But just because there's lots of people searching doesn't always equate to those being the best prospects, right? What we found, and I'll give you guys another example, right? For me, when I was shopping for my car, I knew originally I want a white car and I want 4 doors, right? And as I got further along in my purchasing process, I go from a white car with 4 doors to a black interior, to a sunroom, to I want XYZ safety features, to I want XYZ horsepower, and I want it from one of these 3 brands. And so as I start to get more specific in my search, I understand what I'm looking for. I have a better understanding of what that budget is, and probably a more qualified buyer than someone just searching for a white car with 4 doors, right? Same thing for your industries, right? The more specific the search is, typically we're going to see better, more qualified buyers. So you want to make sure that you're incorporating some of that content and the information on your website. And guys, I know this is these are all complex subjects. If you do have more specific questions, feel free to, comment them in the question section, or reach out to marketing at Surefire Local. We'll be happy to set up some time and walk you through some specific strategies. Another factor here, we know that referral and word of mouth is really important. A big factor for that is reviews. If Mrs. Jones down the street says, hey, I need to call XYZ contractor, first thing I'm going to do is go look you up online, and when I see that you have 5-star reviews, I'm going to feel good. If I see that you have 2-star reviews, I'm probably not going to call you. So it's really, really important. And when we look at this, there's been studies that have done 22% of consumers won't even consider using you if you have a negative review. And when they took that out and they took it out a couple more steps, and they looked at people with 4 negative reviews, they saw that 70% of people wouldn't consider using them, right? So we don't want to limit ourselves in terms of those opportunities, and we need to make sure that we have a process for reviews. One key caveat here for review acquisition, and I'll talk more about this later, but I would really recommend everyone write this down. You want to request your reviews within 48 hours of the job being completed. 48 hours after the job's being completed. If you wait any longer than that, we tend to see a pretty significant drop-off. Now, we've talked a lot about changes, right? We talked about changes in technology, changes in the landscape, changes in tools and customer journey and all those. But there are 4 things that really aren't going to change, okay? And I'm going to get into some specifics. These are really, really important. I would definitely recommend writing down these 4 headers here. So recency. Let me explain why this is important and why these are going to be relevant for you. If you think of Google as a referral service, right? You go to Google and say, who's the best auto mechanic? And it says try these 10 companies. Google is essentially placing its reputation that you are the right company and that you are a good company and someone that they would want to recommend. So their whole model is, how do I serve up the best companies? And so when they look at things and they look at your website, you know, unfortunately in the remodeling space, businesses shut down all the time. And so when Google comes and they come to your website and they see, and these guys haven't updated anything in 2 years or 2 months, they start to feel a little bit less confident in your business. Just like if you were to go to Fox or CNN or MSNBC, go to one of those sites, and you see that the last article that they posted is from March of this year. That's not really what you're looking for, right? You're looking for today. You want to know what happened yesterday with election, right? It's not helpful. You're probably not going to go to that platform if they continue to do that, right? Same thing for Google, right? When they're looking at this information, we want to give them confidence by creating content consistently that we're the right choice. Okay. Proximity, right? We're here in Tysons, Virginia. If I need an electrician, I do not want to find a guy in Nashville, Tennessee. That's not helpful for me, right? So you want to have content and information on your website that helps bring that up and make it easier for them to determine, hey, you're somebody who should be relevant. Like right here in Northern Virginia, there's probably several thousand electricians, right? So what makes your business more relevant than someone else's? And so there's certain indicators and tools, and I'm going to show you guys some of those in a little bit. There's also a lot of ways that you can do this very wrong. And so you want to be careful in terms of how you set this content up, because it can help you and it can also hurt you as well. Relevance. Relevance is probably one of the most important ones here. And the reason why it's important is, let me use this example here for you guys. If I go to Yelp or if I go to Google and I type in pizza delivery, right, I am most likely going to get companies like Pizza Hut, Domino's, Papa John's, New York Pizza, whatever it is, right? I am probably not going to get the deli that allocates 5% of its menu to pizza, right? Because it's not as relevant to what I'm looking for. So if you are a modeler, and I can tell you I see this all the freaking time, if you have kitchen, bathrooms, additions, basements, exterior, interior, siding, windows, roofing, all on one page of your website, it's going to be really, really hard for you to beat out the guy that has a dedicated page to additions, a dedicated page to roofing, multiple pages to kitchens, multiple pages to bathrooms, because it's not as relevant, right? If we're throwing the whole kitchen sink at the consumer at Google, saying we do everything, we can help everybody, it's not as relevant to that individual consumer that might be looking for, you know, a bathroom, you know, replacement or a bath wrap or whatever it might be. Right? So really, really important that we make sure that we look at how the content and information is structured on our website from a relevance standpoint. Last, real simple, is prominence, right? Reviews, reputation, social posting, those are all factors that the search engines look at and are kind of indicators as to whether or not you are the right choice. Now, quick question. Right? If you're trying to get in front of the right consumers, how do we do that? Is it through radio? Is it TV? Is it canvassing? Is it yard signs? Is it, you know, digital? What's kind of the best avenue for you guys, right? And you want to pick whichever one makes sense for you, right? For some of our, you know, storm-based roofing contractors, maybe canvassing makes a lot of sense, right? For a lot of the businesses that we see, it's primarily the web, right? Some people do really, really well with radio. And in order to really be successful from a web standpoint, you really have to look at not just like one solution. Like a lot of companies, hey, I just want to focus on my website. That's an out-of-date strategy. in order to really be successful, you have to focus on a multitude of different areas, right? You have to look at, not only how is the site structured, right? Like this site here looks phenomenal, right? It's great. It's got easy layout. He's got, credibility builders. But the problem, in terms of this is, when you look at actual conversion, we tend to see that this site doesn't perform very well, right? There's little things like the phone number in the upper right-hand corner that probably half of you may or may not have even seen, right? And they've got this, free property inspection, right? So this, we tend to see that, we want to have bigger calls to action, right? Make it easy for someone to see how they should get a hold of us, and even taking it as far as having less hoops that they have to jump through. So, interesting study. Amazon, as I'm sure everyone is aware, they've got this one-click purchase, right? So they've got the ability, you click one button and you buy whatever the item is you're looking at. And while that makes total sense to us, why would you ever want to have more than one button? When they originally were rolling this out several years back, they looked at 1 click, 2 click, 3 clicks to purchase. And they found that with each additional step, they saw a pretty significant decrease in the amount of purchases. So from 1 click to 2 clicks, it was like 13% decrease in conversion. From 2 clicks to 3 clicks, it was like 24% decrease in conversion, right? So each additional hoop that we're asking that prospect to jump through, hey, it may not seem like a big deal to ask them to, click here to fill out this property inspection. But if you know that meant 13% less are going to actually contact you, that's probably something I might want to change or I might want to adjust, right? So there's a lot of little things like that you want to coordinate to make sure that you're developing the right strategy. Another area is something called NAP data. So there are all these sites, all these directory listing sites, which for those of you who may or may not be familiar, a directory listing is a site like Google My Business. It's your Angie's List. It's your Yelp. It's your Home Advisor. It's your BBB. They all have information about your business that contains NAP data, name, address, phone number. And the problem is that when there's inconsistencies in that data, makes the search engines feel a little bit less confident, right? So when the search engines come to this site and they see, okay, they've got a 6000 number and they've got a 6453 number and they got a 7368 number and they got a 5730 and a 5740 and a 5605, well, shoot, which one of these is right? Imagine yourself, right? You're going to go to dinner with, 10 other people. Everybody gives you a different address. You're probably not feeling too great about you getting there, right? Same kind of thing, right? If we go back to Google as a referral service, they want to serve up the best possible companies. And so the more consistent this data is, the more confident they feel that you're the right choice. There's another thing called schema and structured data. So we talked a little bit about voice search and how important that is. Schema is a collaboration between the top search engines, Google, Yahoo, Bing. This is a tag. The way I kind of describe it is it allows you to highlight a section of the website, just like you would highlight something in a book that was important to you. It allows you to highlight that section of the website and say, hey, Google, this is important. So I'm going to show you what this looks like on one of our clients in just a second. Another really, really key area is in reviews, right? One of the strategies that we found to be really, really effective, as I mentioned before, requesting the review within 48 hours. And one of the things that I like that this company is doing, that I want to increase them, or I want to encourage them to do more of, is spreading around your reviews, right? This is a very overlooked strategy that a lot of people miss. They'll just hammer one platform like Google or Angie's List. A few years back, they get hundreds of reviews on Angie's List. And the problem with that is that if you just focus on Angie's List, we have an ambulance going by. If you just focus on Angie's List, that leaves you open to other problems, right? So I had a guy come to me at a conference and he says, hey, you know what, I've got this issue. I've got a few reviews on Yelp and I've got like 300 reviews on Angie's List. And unfortunately, someone came and wrote a negative review on his Yelp profile. And while all of his reviews were all 5 stars, so it didn't look, terrible because he only had 3, when that person came and wrote that negative review, it took him from a 5-star rating down to like a 3-star rating. And unfortunately, a customer was within a 3-day cancellation period, went online, looked at that, read the review, and ended up canceling a $70,000 job. So a rather tough lesson to learn for this particular contractor. And so, what my strategy is for clients is you want to focus on getting 20 reviews on a platform and then rotate to another platform. So I would get 20 on Google and then move to Yelp. 20 on Yelp, then I'm going to go to Houzz. 20 on Houzz, then I'm going to go to, Facebook. 20 on there, I'm going to go to Better Business Bureau or whatever. And by doing that, that insulates you from those reviews, right? If you get 1 review and you got 20 positive, it's not a big deal. If you have 3 reviews and 1 of them negative, it's kind of a big deal, right? Now I'm going to show you, I mentioned schema and structured data a second ago, and I'm going to show you this tool that we've developed. So this tool, it's a mobile app called GeoJuice, and what this does, this particular business, they're in Hollywood, Florida, and they go down below Miami, and they cover up above Boca Raton. So they got a decent size service area. And what this tool does is it allows me to check in at a job site so I can tell the search engines, hey, I'm near North 54th Ave in Hollywood, Florida, and I'm doing a tile re-roof estimate, right? So when we talked earlier about the 4 key areas, this is relevance, right? What am I doing? Proximity, where am I doing it? 16 hours ago, recency, right? So we're tying into all of those key areas here. And we take it one step further, and we actually allow the ability for our contractors to request reviews, right? So we factor in the prominence factor, which was the last section of the 4. So here, 16 hours ago, John wrote a review from Hollywood, Florida. Angel wrote a review 22 hours ago. And the reason why these contractors, why we see success is because they're asking for it at the time of service, as opposed to 2 days or 2 weeks or 2 months later, because we're saying, hey, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, we hope this was a great experience for you. We'd love it if you could share your experience. I'm going to shoot you a text message right now with the ability for you to request that review. And I talked a little bit about schema a few minutes ago, right? And I showed you this particular contractor who has 0 references of any sort of schema or structured data. Now, when I go to this particular contractor and I type in, I get 212 references of it. And I'm going to show you how this kind of makes a little bit of sense here in just a second. So this particular contractor is a roofing contractor, right? So schema.org/roofing contractor. Hey, Google, this is a roofer. Aggregate rating. Hey, Google, this has to do, this 4.9 out of 5 stars with 629 reviews. This is our aggregate rating. This right here is schema.org/review. This particular section of code has to do with a review. This was the person that wrote it, John. This was the address that it came from. So it's providing all these clues and this context to the search engines to say, hey, this is important. This is why we should be more relevant. And what we see is that when we look at some of the surrounding areas, Pembroke Pines Roofing Contractor, which is a suburb of Hollywood, I see that Earl Johnston Roofing is the very first Google search result below the paid ads here, with 109 reviews in that of the 629 that they have are in the city of Pembroke Pines. All right, so that recent content, that proximity, the relevance, the prominence, those all factor in to our ability to be able to improve our performance. Okay? So hopefully it's kind of making a little bit of sense. Now, I mentioned before that in order to truly be successful from a digital marketing standpoint, this has always been kind of like the core vision of our CEO and founder, Chris. In order to truly be successful, there is not a magic bullet, right? There's not one one strategy that's going to do this. It's working all of these strategies: social media, reputation, content, your website, AdWords, directory listings, and understanding how all of those are performing. That's really what we specialize in, what we focus on and make easier for our clients. And I mentioned before that we tie in with some really big companies, right? So we pull data in from Google My Business, from Facebook, from WordPress, from Salesforce. Apex Chat is one of the largest chat providers in the home improvement spaces, and guys like Market Sharp and Improve It 360 all connect into our platform so we can have a real solid understanding of how everything is performing and how we want to make adjustments. This slide, quite frankly, is overwhelming, and that's digital marketing in general is overwhelming. And what we want you to understand with this is, we've developed this technology stack that is skating where the puck is going, right? Most companies, they're just like, hey, I'm just going to select a hosting provider. I'm going to go to, HostGator or GoDaddy or whatever. But there are certain hosting providers that are going to perform better than others. There's things in terms of how the site is structured and how the code is set up that is actually going to make the site perform better, right? Things like on your WordPress, your CMS, your content management system. This is a platform that's built on. Think of this as your iOS or Android, right? If you go onto your phone and you see the little red dot that says, hey, your software is out of date, your phone's going to start performing slower. And we think of all those things, making sure that the website is all up to date, making sure that it's mobile first, right? This was something, quite frankly, I've been in a lot of meetings with my CEO, and he's like, yeah, we're mobile first, and we're mobile first, and we're mobile first. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? I don't know what that means. And so I finally, asked about it the other week, and he's like, okay, so think of it this way, right? When we've always designed websites, it's always been from a desktop standpoint. That's how we want to think about it. We want to make sure that we've got a great user. Now we see that more than 50% of all traffic is coming from mobile and tablet devices. So we don't want to optimize for the desktop first. We want to optimize for mobile first, right? We want to make sure that that has the best user experience because that's where we're getting the majority of our traffic from, right? Little things in terms of like we have crawlers set up that run all of our websites to make sure that there's no errors that are happening, right? There's no issues, and we have auto fixes, and there's all these different things that we've set up to make sure that our clients are ultimately successful. And so with our cloud, I'm going to jump into it in just a second here. With our cloud, we pull in all these different resources that I mentioned here, and I'm going to jump through a few of these fairly quickly here and show you guys how we look at and kind of how we understand this data, right? So this is a contractor, a real contractor. And what I'm looking at here is in the last 90 days, he's had 2,700 people actually come to his website. So this is a really important metric for you to understand, right? If you don't know how many people are coming to your website, that's absolutely something you want to get corrected. You want to have some idea in terms of how many people are coming to your website because there are certain metrics that you want to be tracking, right? How many of those are actually turning into leads? And this would be something I would recommend everyone writing down. The conversion from website visitors to actual leads, phone calls, and form submissions, what we call goal completions, that should be a minimum of 5%. A minimum of 5%. That's your target. Most of the Surefire clients convert between 7 and 12%, but you absolutely want to be converting a minimum of 5%. If it's converting less than 5%, there's some sort of manipulation, or we've got a lot of things that we got to work on within your website. And if you don't know this and you'd like some more help with this, one of the things that we're going to offer at the end is a free demo of our technology, and we'll walk through some recommendations and some of our best practices as well. So once we look at where we're getting our traffic from, next thing I want to do is how is that traffic coming to our website? If 80% of your traffic is coming from direct, someone just typing in your name, in the address bar up here, that's not a great indicator. That's somebody that maybe saw a job sign or saw your trucks or, something like that. Somebody just already familiar with your brand. What we want to see is it coming from organic? Is it coming from our paid marketing with the Google AdWords? Was it a referral from Better Business Bureau or email marketing campaign that we might be doing? That's what we want to kind of understand here, is where is that traffic coming from? And so we help you guys to determine that, make sure that you understand this. And then, what sort of terms are we actually showing up for? We may think that roofing or roofing companies, maybe that we think that that's a great idea, but as I mentioned before, we tend to see that brings, a little bit more tire kickers, right? Maybe, the focus should be on, something a little bit more obscure in terms of our target, right? Maybe we want to go after metal roofing contractors. Maybe that converts at a much higher percentage. So this helps us to see the terms that we're actually showing up for and be able to make changes and adjustments to drive results, right? Another thing that we want to focus on here is where our competitors are in this landscape, right? I want to make sure that I know what my competitors are doing. I want to make sure I've got adjustments and make sure that we can tweak things in order to make sure that I stay ahead of those guys, right? I don't want anybody passing me. And so this allows us to see what sort of things those competitors are doing and how we want to make those adjustments, right? I can also look at my reputation, my directory listings, making sure, we talked about before, we don't want to have all these inconsistencies in the data. So once we put you in our system, the companies that we've partnered with are contractually obligated to update your information within 72 hours, right? So we make sure that information comes through. We can also aggregate all those different reviews and see what sort of things people are saying about us, right? Are they saying that they recommend us, that, we're a great company? Or are we saying that, maybe we weren't pleased with some of the work that happened, or maybe Jeff damaged something on the house, right? So that this helps us to see where we're getting that traffic from and how we might want to make adjustments. I can also see here, once I drill into some of the different categories, I can see, okay, out of my almost 700 people that actually contacted me, well, where did those people come from? Were they from our contact us page? Were they from our request an estimate? Were they came from phone calls? Were they from form submissions? So this helps us to better understand where we're getting those resources, where we're getting those leads, and then look at, okay, how many of them were from our organic campaign versus paid? And we can, build out as many of these sources as we want. Like I've got a guy in California, a window contractor, and he's got 16 or 17 different call tracking numbers. So his radio campaign has a different number. His billboards have a different number. His, trucks have a different, everything's different. So that way he can really track and start to better understand, which of his marketing resources are actually performing for him. In addition to that, I can also see, we've got some light CRM functionality that we've built in here. So I can see all the people that filled out a form and make sure that our team is staying on top of them. I can also, send them drip email campaigns through this to keep those prospects warm. So we've got the ability to stay on top of those. And there's actually some really, really cool things that we're working on right now where we're going to be able to tie in Tom here clicking on a certain ad and then going in and filling out a form and then end up spending $12,000 with you, right? And so this is going to help us to better attribute the ads to the actual ROI of that campaign. So a lot of, marketing companies, if you guys have done AdWords before, hey, we got you a bunch of clicks. Yeah, that's cool. Well, that doesn't pay the bills. And so now, businesses are like, hey, we got you a bunch of phone calls and leads. Well, if they're junk, that doesn't help me at all. And so what we're working towards is, again, where the puck's going, where's the revenue, right? How do we optimize around the revenue? And that's part of the direction that we're really focused on moving forward. I talked about directory listings, right? When we put you in our system, they're contractually obligated, and there's about 70 different sites that we put you in, and it's going to publish that content and that information out there and generate those listings to make sure that the name, address, phone number, data is all consistent. And one of the other cool things, I know there's some businesses on here that have multiple locations. We actually have the ability where we can add in different, so let's say we open up another location in Mississippi, right, or in Texas or in Florida, right? We can add those in and we can start to compartmentalize that data. I can see how my Mississippi location is doing for my Alabama location, right? And so we got some really, really interesting things that we're developing there. We also, as I mentioned here, have the ability to look at the reviews, make sure that as I mentioned, Jeff. Oh, I logged out. Make sure that Jeff is doing all the right things. Is Jeff responding to people? Is he doing all the right things that we expect him for our brand, making sure that customers are happy? So if I click Jeff, I see all the reviews that mention, Jeff, right? Hey, enjoyed working with Jeff Baker. He's a good guy, right? And it seems like Jeff's doing a phenomenal job. It's all 5-star. I can also, let's say, maybe somebody messed something up. I can respond to those reviews right here in the system, and it automatically gets published there, as well as acquire reviews. So we're really trying to pull in all these different data streams all into one place to make it really easy and simple for you to understand how everything is performing and actually generate a real ROI. And so, here's some of the different platforms that we tie into. And one of the other cool things through this particular tool is that we've got the ability to publish content here as well. So we can publish to all of our different social platforms right here through the cloud. So, some of the terms that we use is, look, it allows you to see how well everything is performing, and it allows you to do more, right? It allows you to be able to publish content and make changes, and we're actually going to have the ability to publish AdWords campaign through this. And, the others, see more, do more, and we can get more help, right? We have specialists that understand the remodeling industry, because that's really all we do is work in the home improvement space. And because of that knowledge and that expertise, we're typically able to deliver, better results and guide you guys in the right direction. So hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. One of the things I hinted at this earlier, one of the things that we offer for everyone that attended is a free private demo of our cloud, where we're actually going to show you how it works, as well as walk you through 3 or 4 strategies that we've used to help other remodeling contractors improve their online presence and actually generate higher quality leads. And so we've got a couple different options. We can schedule some time for tomorrow, Thursday, Monday of next week, or you can just set email and we will respond back to you guys and set up some time. And just so you got some context in terms of what sort of stuff we do, we actually had a contractor last year that he reviewed the metrics of his campaign and found that our program had actually helped him generate 83 jobs and a little over $1.3 million in revenue. So we've got some pretty good success stories, and would love to share with you guys some of the strategies and tools that we've implemented. We actually had another guy in Cincinnati, and this contractor, within the first few months of our program, actually generated 27 brand new Google reviews. So we're getting some people that are getting some really good results. Happy to kind of walk you through some of those best practices.
Yeah, and we have a couple questions for you, David, as well. But before we get into the questions, I did want to mention that in exchange for a conversation with one of our consultants, we will also be giving away one of a copy of Mark G. Richardson's best-selling books. These are remodeling business-focused books. For example, he has Fit to Grow and a Time Mastery book as well. So those are really great reads. So to get into the questions, our first one here is, our company already works with a company who does our SEM, website, content, etc. Is Surefire software that we would be able to utilize, or is this more software for a company that's currently managing these things on their own?
Yeah, so really we can kind of slice this however makes sense for your business. We have some clients that just use our software and technology, and then we have some clients that we actually manage everything for them. So it totally depends on what your needs are and really what you're looking for.
Okay. And then we actually have another question. What are a few fun and creative ways that we can get more reviews for our business? We often get a verbal commitment, but they never actually write a review.
Yeah, I hear that from a lot of businesses. And so one of the things that we recommend is, I know some people don't recommend incentivizing the customer because they feel like it's manipulating. That's a business decision. I'm all for getting as many as we can, but one of the other strategies that I've heard that's a little bit different is incentivizing the salespeople. Or let's say if you have a quality assurance person, somebody that does kind of a final walkthrough, whoever that last person is that's kind of there, I would incentivize them. So what I've heard, one of our clients, Brian Spicer, what he does is for every 5-star review that his salespeople get, they get a $25 gift card. And if they get a 4-star review, they have to go back out to the home and figure out how to get a 5-star review, and then they get the $25 gift card. So I've also, through our tool, GeoJuice, which I would highly recommend. I have seen, that contractor that I showed you guys, they've got 629 reviews, and they've been with us for about 2 years. I don't know too many businesses. They get 300 plus reviews a year on just one platform, let alone other platforms. That I've seen be really successful just because it's a text feature, and you're doing it right there. We've got some verbiage and stuff like that. So if you want some specific verbiage, email marketing at Surefire Local, and we'll definitely send that over.
Okay, great. Thanks for those answers. Now we're going to move on to our lucky winner of the Google Home Hub today. And today's winner is Robert Buchin. Hopefully I'm saying your last name right. Apologies if I'm not. But congratulations. Please email marketing at surefirelocal.com, and we will get that shipped right out to you.
Awesome. Really appreciate the time, everybody. Thank you. Hopefully this was helpful. Again, if you have more questions, problems, things come up as you review it in more detail, send a note to marketing at Surefire Local. We'll be happy to get in touch with you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.